Hey guys, what's up? It's Lady Katherine here. First off, I'm sorry I'm wearing my glasses. I have my computer here in front of the camera because I have some notes. I want to make sure I have all my notes and things for this particular video, so I'm very sorry about the glare. But this video is all about, well, let's just go through the title, Becoming a Witch, Getting Started on the Well-Worn Path. This is all about getting started, like tips and advice for things when getting started. I also real quickly want to announce I'll be launching another series here soon called Ask Lady Katherine. So if you have any kind of questions related to spirituality or like witchcraft or anything, definitely send those in. You can actually send those in either through my Facebook's business page, or you can private message them to me. In fact, to tell you the honest truth, I'd rather you private message them to me on my personal Facebook. And when I get enough of them put together, I will create a video answering all those questions. Or if I have enough for 2 or 3 videos, I'll make 2 or 3 videos at a time. So I will get to those questions. But anyway, so you want to become a witch. You want to get started on a well-worn path, a very well-beaten path. But you may not know where to start. Well, you're in luck, because this video is specifically for you guys, alright? My goal here is to just give you some pointers on where to start. But first we need to answer 3 questions, alright? We're going to take a moment, we're going to answer a couple of questions before we actually get started, because we need to know what our intentions are, what we plan to get out of this, things like that. So going into this, the first one is, why do you want to be a witch? Alright, take a moment, pause this video, and answer that question. You can wait till all 3 of the questions are posed. Better yet, get a notebook and write down the questions and think about those. Pause this video and then think about those, and then write the answers to those questions. Sorry, my brain's a little all over the place. What do you hope to accomplish by becoming a witch? Is becoming a witch a solid thought out decision, or is it just something you decided to do on a whim? These are important. After you answer these 3 questions honestly with yourself, then we will proceed to the next portion of this video. So definitely take a moment, pause this video, answer those questions. The reason for this is because you need to know what your true intentions were. Was this a decision that you actually sat and thought about? Was this, what do you hope to accomplish by becoming a practicing witch? Do you need to know what your intentions and your thoughts are in regards to this, because this is actually a very big decision. This is not something that should be taken lightly. Alright, so go ahead, pause this video, take a few moments to answer these questions. I prefer if you would take a notebook and write down the questions and answer them on paper so you have them to go back and reference. Now, the reason is I believe there's a few more questions throughout this video I'm going to pose, and this way you can go back and review them later after you watch this video, alright? So, I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes. Sorry, take a couple minutes again, pause this video, answer those questions, alright? But we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on, as there's no way for me to like time-lapse this video. I don't have fancy time-lapsing equipment yet. So, first things first, there is nothing simple about becoming a witch, nor are there any shortcuts to becoming a witch. Being a witch is nothing like you'll see in the movies or read in the books. The path of a witch requires a lot of research and introspection into oneself. I often equate it to being one of the most difficult paths to walk because of all the introspection, all the self-discovery, all the research and figuring out your beliefs while walking and practicing this path. There are a ton of different paths of magic out there, alright? A ton. And you need to really, find what interests you. And we're going to get into the tips here real quick, alright? So after getting through the first like 4.5 minutes of this video and actually answering those questions, if you still want to be a witch, then you can start off by visiting your local library, or even a couple libraries for that matter, to getting you some books to get started. They're free. Libraries are free. You don't have to spend a lot of money. It also will give you an idea if this is something you want to commit to before you start purchasing books for your own personal library, okay? That is the one thing that that I think is really important. You need to, I guess you could say, read, like start doing the studying, but don't worry about spending money on buying books right away. Visit a local library, or several libraries for that matter, and find a variety of text and see if this is a path, a lifestyle that you can legitimately commit to as an individual being. All right? Because there's a lot of work that is involved, a lot of introspection. And witchcraft, or even Wicca for that matter, is not cut out for everybody. Not everybody feels that they can do it. And that's okay. All right, we're very open. I'm very open-minded, so it is okay if being a witch or being Wiccan is not the path for you. We're cool. I got no qualms with any other religion or anything like that. All right. Now, do not disregard historical text or literature about witches or witchcraft, because you may find in historical accounts you will find lots of information. A lot of it you may have to sift through to find, quality information sometimes, but, there is still good information in historical text. I've noticed that reading one historical book on witchcraft and another, you get a lot of opinions or a lot of writing that is skewed more in favor of a particular religion sometimes. Sometimes they don't give you all the information, so you got to read multiple texts in the historical realm. And of course, literature in general, it'll give you inspiration. Literature in general does a whole bunch of things. I guess you could say it is another way to connect to your path, or to connect to being a witch, if you will. And if you're having trouble with certain passages, whether it's in books specifically on Wicca, or books specifically about witchcraft, or historical text, or any kind of literature, if you're having any kind of problems with certain passages, take note of those and dig deeper later on, okay? And now we're going to talk about a few steps that you can take while doing research. This is I guess you say, one of the best advice things, one of the best things that I could tell you. All right. So for the first one, obviously, is take notes. Taking notes over subjects that you are studying will allow you to revisit those topics later on. And it will also be a good way to refresh your memory of everything that you learn. Because when you're learning something for the first time, you're going to be reading a lot of information. So if you take notes, you can revisit everything, all right, that you've written down, of course. I suggest personally, because I'm one that actually does my entire Book of Shadows, all my research notes, everything are on my computer. I do suggest that you create a folder on your computer and put these notes in, so you have them all in one place. Because eventually, you may want to print those notes out and put them in your Book of Shadows, or grimoire, or whatever you call it. I personally call my book a grimoire. It's just me. All right. Number 2, consider your thoughts in regards to nature. And this is where we're going to have another couple of questions posed. As witches, we do revere nature. So here are the questions. All right. Write these down. How do you feel about nature? Can you work closely with her? Now, I want you to take a moment, pause this video again, and answer those 2 questions. There's no right or wrong answers. This is all some self-introspection to get you started to making sure this is a path for you. All right? But we're going to go ahead and move on to number 3. I do encourage you, though, to pause before number 3. Tip number 3, write down any questions that you have. By creating a list of questions, This is a good way to get information from the horse's mouth. Okay, that's just the saying. So, for example, if you do meet a witch, politely ask them if you can ask them a few questions. It is a good way to get information directly from a witch by asking them, and by writing down the list of questions, you won't forget those questions because you'll have them right in front of you. Because let's face it, us as human beings, we tend to forget things very, very easily. And so writing things down, whether in a list form or whatever it may be, it gives us a chance to remember, first off. Secondly, we'll have the list with us. Hopefully you'll put it in your purse or your wallet or your backpack or wherever you want to keep this list. But it gives us a chance to write down those questions and still get answers later on, because we're not sitting here like, oh, I can't remember, but I have a few questions for you. It's like, I have a few questions. Is it okay if I ask you them? And then you pull out the paper and you look a little more organized in the process as well. Point number 4, we have 4, there's 5 here. Take your time. All right, you want to move through your research at your own pace. It is not a race to know everything as fast as possible. If it takes you 3 years to make a decision on practicing as a witch or not, living the life of a witch and that, then by all means do it. It took me 2 years before I committed. All right, there's no shame in that. All right, building a solid foundation takes time, and it's not going to you're not going to read one book and build a solid foundation for your path overnight. It's going to take research. That's why the most common recommendation is a year and a day. All right. Me personally, I think that it all depends on the person, but a year and a day is a good goal as well. All right. And the final tip I have for you guys is become comfortable with diversity. All right. There are many different paths that a witch can follow, and not every path will appeal to you. Find the paths that interest you and research those first. All right, let me give you an example. For example, let's say you're looking through the different paths of witchcraft, all right, and magic, and let's say, for example, Wicca doesn't interest you at all, but Wicca doesn't interest you at all. Witchcraft does. So you look into, let's say, Celtic witchcraft, okay? Don't close yourself off from learning Wicca at a later date. It may not interest you now, but maybe later on it may interest you, and that may be something that you want to explore and research later on. All right? So don't cut yourself off to the possibility of researching something that doesn't interest you at a later date. All right? So, if you're still with me, then let's keep moving on. All right? We're going to kick it up a little bit here. We're going to buckle down and we're going to get serious, because at this point you've hopefully consumed a few books, maybe read a few articles, taken lots of notes, or even watched several YouTube videos. What's the next step? Well, the next step is determining whether you're going to practice solo or group. All right? There are many advantages. There are many advantages to that. Group work, you have like-minded people to work with. Solo work, you have no one essentially giving direction. You can do what you wish. And there's, you gotta look into both the pros and cons and determine that for yourself. Another thing to keep in mind is, do you want strict rules or not? Some traditions of witchcraft, they do have a set of rules and structure, whereas others do not. Personally, I am an eclectic draconic witch. There is really no hard and fast rules, no rules set in stone, saying I have to practice one way or another. All right? Please keep in mind, though, that there are many different paths available to the aspiring witch. So find yourself a path, and from one witch to another, welcome home. And I hope to help guide you more on this wonderful and beautiful path. All right. So with all of that, hopefully I didn't like explode your brains. I will be doing a video, kind of like a follow-up video for those who worry about the tools and all the physical things at a later date. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'll probably also do a couple of like researched 101 videos here and there. I'm not gonna, I mean, it'll all be thrown into the same playlist, but it's not going to be, it'll be thrown into the same series, but there's not going to be really any kind of schedule as to when things are going to come out like that, as I have lots of videos that I want to do, and lots of different series that may come out of it. So, with that being said, guys, I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and until next time, namaste.